Hey everybody, good morning. It's Andrew Martin coming to you with another video on this sunny Monday. Oh my God, I love coffee so much. Seriously. I'm having a mad, passionate three-way love affair with coffee and my bed. Right now, those are two of the most rewarding, satisfying things in my life. Kidding, but kind of not kidding. It's a beautiful day here in Seattle. The sun is getting ready to peek around the building across the street. So any minute now, I'm going to get those weird patterns on my face. So we'll just have to live with it. And today I want to talk about, faith and surrender seem to be the themes of the day lately, and just trusting and letting go of control and letting things be. If you haven't watched my most recent videos, Living in the Void, You Got to Do the Work, Letting It Go versus Letting It Be, those three all sort of circle around this same topic and this same idea. And as humanity is going through a huge shift right now. Never before in the history of the human race and all the incarnations of it. And we could go really far down the rabbit hole here in terms of, other civilizations and what is actually the history of this planet and all of that. I will leave that for other people to hash out, because there's a million stories and a million theories and a million, there's a million versions of our history, and that's not the point of this video. But what I want to say is that never before in the history of really humanity have we gone through such a massive shift like the one that we're going through right now. And we are all transforming on a very fundamental, profound level in a way that is unparalleled. I mean, during my channeling sessions, what keeps coming through is, Amar keeps telling people that we are literally going through a physical transformation, which is allowing us to embody greater levels of light and higher levels of frequency and deeper, more expanded, levels of love that we can house in our physical body. And our physical bodies are amazing instruments, and they have never been able to house the kind of frequencies that they can house at this time. And we are still undergoing this process of evolution and this process of transformation. And that's why you're seeing so many shifts on the planet right now. That's why you're seeing people literally every single day are waking up and having these experiences that really shake them in a very loving way. It's all coming from love, in a very profound, loving, kind of mind-blowing way, waking them up to the truth of who they are. And what Amar keeps saying, sorry, I have something in my eye. What Amar keeps saying is that it is like the race car is being upgraded and rebuilt while it is still on the track. So we are absolutely in a place right now where there are changes happening in, our lives individually, our lives as a collective, our lives as a planet, as society, as specific groups. And I mean, it's a ripple effect, and it all starts with the individual changes, and it all starts with an individual shift, because we truly are connected to all that is, because we are all that is, and there is no separation. And the separation is the illusion that we have created and we have agreed to exist within, so that we can have the experience of remembering and of coming back to the truth of who we are. So what that means is we're being called to embody truths as a way of life, and we are being called to make choices and to take inspired actions that may not even make sense, and that we may not even have any idea why we're being called to do these things, or how we're going to do these things, or what even we are supposed to be doing. But our job, especially in the moments of what would seem to be sort of totally blind faith and totally walking around in the dark with a blindfold on, trying to find our way through this new landscape and trying to figure out what's what. The less we know from a logical, rational, mind-based perspective, which, the mind is the illusion. God, this could be like a 3-hour video. So I'm going to do my best to stay on topic. The less we know from a logical, rational, mind-based perspective, the more it's almost like that is sort of our measure of like, okay, the less I know from a mind-based, rational, logical perspective, the more important it is for me to follow the guidance and to follow the nudging and the knowing and the intuitive sort of, I don't know why I know this, but I do, or I don't know why I have to do this, but I do, or I don't know why I'm guided to say this or to make these choices or to move in this direction, but I am, and so I just have to trust. Here comes the sun. And the more that we are thrust into these situations, the more important it is for us to really have faith and trust. And we really are literally being, gosh, that is some weird, funky, move my plant a little bit. There we go. The more that we move forward and the more that we progress in these changes, the less we are really going to know from a rational perspective. Life is literally building itself in a way that we are really being called to a super, super deep level of faith and trust and surrender, and to just show up and to surrender and let go of the fact that we may not always have the details. We may not always have the roadmap. We may not always have the instructions telling us what it is that we're supposed to do or what we're going to be required to do once we get there. Try to adjust this. Sorry, guys. It's kind of distracting. So I'm going to tell you a story because, I love stories, and how better to illustrate my point than to give you some real life experience of my own, because I think that, I realize now, the life that I've lived has been kind of wild and crazy, and the experiences that I've had have been so diverse and, all over the map. And I see now that the life that I've planned out for myself from a soul level, because I did choose this life, we all chose our lives to learn what we needed to learn in this lifetime. And that's the other thing, is it's not always been comfortable, it's not always been convenient, and it's not always been easy. But life is not supposed to always be comfortable and convenient and easy, because if it was, we wouldn't be growing. We wouldn't be challenging ourselves and our own stories and our own ideas of who we are and what we're capable of. If we just took everything at face value, nothing would ever change. So yeah, sometimes life is going to call us to step into a very uncomfortable, very unknown place. And it is by design that we are going to be called to have faith and to trust. So I've been doing this work full time for about 2 years now. And the one thing that I have learned is to expect the unexpected. And the one thing that I know, because I know very little, seriously, the more I learn, the less I know. And what I know is that the energies are always constantly expanding and evolving and growing. And just when I think I have a handle on how it's going to happen or how it works or what is required of me in the moment, it shifts. And I am forced to go to a new level of surrender and just faith and just trusting that, okay, I don't know how it's going to happen, but I just know it's going to happen. So when I first started doing this work, it was pretty straightforward. I would, have these readings or these appointments with these clients, and it started off, it was all very, now I see how it was laid out for me in a very progressive sort of step-by-step thing. At the time, of course, I had no idea what the steps were or what the plan was. But I see now, I started doing email readings, and those were very simple and very safe and very easy. And so I wasn't required to go too deep into my gifts and the tools that I have to help people. And it slowly over time would evolve and grow, and things would expand. And then I stopped doing email readings, and I started doing one-on-one sessions over the phone and over Skype. And then over time, I started doing sessions at the bookstore here in Seattle. And so it was slowly stepping me up into new levels of confidence and effectiveness and a practice that was viable and something that I could actually do in terms of delivering what I was supposed to deliver for people. And the clients that I was encountering were exactly in line with what my abilities were and the level of information that I could access and the level of clarity that I was able to access. And then a couple of months ago, I think I've mentioned this before, but I want to give you this story in the context. A couple of months ago, everything came to a screeching halt. My readings at the bookstore dried up. My sessions with my clients dried up. Everything came to a screeching halt. I mean, and my artwork, which, had also been a source of income for me, it all just stopped. And I was like, okay, well, at this point, I had kind of learned to understand that when that happened, it was only that I was being called to a new shift in the way that I did things and the services that I offered and the things that I could do to help people. But I had no idea what to do. And it was a couple of weeks of me kind of freaking out, like, dude, where's the money? Like, I got to eat, I got to pay bills, yada, yada, yada. And through a friend of mine who also does this work, he's a really gifted medium. And we were on the phone one day and I was asking him, I was telling him, like, this is, what I'm going through right now and I don't really know what to do. And we trade readings sometimes, and every once in a while we'll get messages for each other, and we just always share and help each other. He's, definitely one that is, we're kind of helpers for each other in this lifetime. And he said, I'm getting a message from your team that you got to start doing the diamond frequency again, and you got to start working with the diamond frequency. And I was like, diamond frequency? And it was a meditation that I had gotten like a year and a half ago when I first started doing this work. One day I just was given this meditation for the diamond frequency, and I would kind of work with it a little bit in my intuitive sessions, but I wasn't doing standalone healings, and I wasn't really sure why I was getting all these images of diamond frequencies. And they kept telling me, you are the 13th diamond, and that was what this tattoo is. And so I just was like, okay, I don't really know what this is. And then I stopped doing it. And I hadn't really honestly thought about the diamond frequency in, over a year. And he said, you need to revisit that. They're telling me it's time for you to start working with that again. And I was like, okay, I don't really know what that means, but cool. At least that's, that's some direction. And in that moment of saying, okay, I trust the guidance that's coming to me in the form of this instruction to start working with the diamond frequency again. I have no idea what it means, but I'll find out. So I went into meditation, I connected with my guides, and I was like, okay, so what's up with the diamond frequency? What am I supposed to do? And they said, you're supposed to start offering it as a standalone healing. And I said, well, how? What does that even mean? As a standalone healing, it's a meditation. It's like literally maybe a 10-minute meditation, and I don't understand what am I supposed to do? Give me, a template. And they said, no, we're not going to give you a template. Just start with the meditation, and then you'll know what to do. And I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? I don't understand. And so I said, well, okay, I'll just wait for my next instruction. I just got to trust. And so not long after that, I knew that I was supposed to offer it on Facebook, to put it on my website, and to just do it. And so I just put it on Facebook and set, in a couple of the groups that I'm connected with on Facebook, and to my my own page on Facebook, facebook.com, the lighted ones. Got to plug myself. And so I just, said, hey, I've just received this new healing. I know this is something I'm supposed to start doing. I'm, I'm offering it for free because I'm still kind of attuning it and still figuring it out. So, if anyone's interested, let me know. I'm not kidding you. 2 hours later, I was booked for like the next week and a half. And this was in April. And so I started this was like mid-April. And so I started booking. And I was doing all of these appointments for free. And they were going amazingly well. And I literally was just sort of figuring it out on the fly. But I knew when I worked with the first person that I had done the healing on, I just knew. It just came to me. This is what you need to do. This is the template. This is the model. This is what practically from step 1 to step 2, this is what the healing will look like. And so I just did it. And I was booking like crazy. I mean, it was like 2 and 3 appointments a day, like 2 weeks in advance. And then I started booking into May. And the minute that I booked my first appointment into May, my guide said, okay, so now that you've booked into May, now you're going to start charging. So for every appointment from now on, you're going to start charging for this healing. So put it on your website as an official service and start charging. And so I was thinking like, oh, because these sessions were amazingly powerful. Like it was blowing my mind. I was so completely unprepared for the level of clarity and the level of understanding and the kind of information that was coming through during these healings and the correctness of the information that I was receiving and that people were validating for me was blowing my mind. I mean, I was like, whoa, I had never had such a powerful experience in any sessions I had done. And so I was thinking like, yeah, cool, I'm going to charge all this money. I'm going to be making bank. Like if I look at my, my calendar for the past 2 weeks, is any indication of the number of appointments I'm going to have, I can charge whatever I want for this. And I was super stoked. And then don't you know, a couple of the days after I put it on my website, my guides told me to start charging on a donation basis. And I was like, are you kidding me? Donation? I'm not a soup kitchen. I'm not the Red Cross. Like donation? How the hell am I supposed to live on donations? And I refused. And they kept telling me for like the next 2 days, they kept saying donation, donation, donation. That's all. They were like a freaking broken record. And so finally, after like 3 days, I said, okay, fine, donation, I'll do it. God, just shut up already. I'm tired of you bugging me about this. So I switched everything to donation. I put that out on my website too, and on my Facebook pages. I recorded a video about it, letting everyone know why I was doing it, and this was the new way I was running my business. For the time being, same thing. 2 days later, I was booking like crazy. And the donations that were coming in were pretty much, I would say on average, they were on par with what I would have made anyway if I had just been charging my regular rate. And at the same time, I was connecting with my guides, Amar. Finally, Amar had stepped forward as sort of the spokesperson for the Lighted Ones. Up until that point, I had never been able to I was just calling them the Lighted Ones. I knew that they were a group of 12 souls. I didn't know who spoke for them, or I didn't have like a singular sort of aspect of the consciousness that I would communicate directly with. I would just connect with them all. Finally, Amar stepped forward, and I began to communicate with Amar. And I was on the bus one day coming home from the bookstore, and I heard Amar say, okay, it's time to start offering channeling sessions. And I was like, what? Channeling sessions? How? What? Again, the questions, how do I do this? What? I don't know how to do this. I've never channeled before directly. I mean, some of the writing that I did in the early days on my blog with the Lighted Ones was channeled writing. And every once in a while in a session, I would have a really powerful connection to the information that was coming through. So I sort of had an inkling, but I had never channeled, and they said the same thing, just put it on your website and start offering it as a service. Okay, fine, sure, whatever. Same thing, I put it on my website. Like the next day, I had people signing up for channeled sessions with Amar. And I would go into every single session a nervous fucking wreck. Frickin' wreck. Not sure of what I was going to do, how it was going to do it. Was it going to work? Was I going to be able to bring through the information? I didn't know. And every single time the response was amazing. The clarity of the information that came through was amazing. The love and the compassion that I felt coming through me was incredible. And also around this time, they kept telling me, write your classes, write your classes, write your classes. And I was like, write my classes what? I mean, I knew that I wanted to do classes. I knew that I wanted to teach. And that was, at some point I wanted to evolve into doing group events and speaking engagements and working with large groups of people. And teaching was going to be part of that. But I didn't know what I was going to teach. I didn't know what that looked like. I just knew that I wanted to do classes at some point. And they kept saying, write your classes, write your classes. And I was like, what classes? How? What are you talking about? And there's the bookstore that I go to and do readings at, there's a meetup group there every other week, where it's an intuitive meetup and we just get together socially and, hang out for a couple of hours and do meditations and healings and spirit circles. And it's always something different every week. And the manager of the store, his name is Steve. And my team, one day I was going to the intuitive meetup and my team had been going on and on and on about classes. And I was like, I don't know. What do you mean write your classes? How do I just pull this shit out of the air? And I got off the bus and I saw Steve walking up and they said, talk to Steve, talk to Steve, talk to Steve, talk to Steve about the classes, talk to Steve about the classes. And I was like, okay, fine. It's like that scene in Ghost, if you've ever seen Ghost, when Patrick Swayze first meets Oda Mae. And he sings I'm Henry VIII, I am over and over and over to get her to finally go talk to Demi Moore, to Molly. That's how it felt. Like they were harassing me to talk to Steve. So I was like, okay, fine. So I just walked up to him and we knew each other and he's a great guy and super friendly. And I was just like, hey, Steve, how are you? Yada, yada, conversation. And then I said, I've got some ideas for classes, which was a lie. I had the idea that I wanted to do classes, but I didn't know what. But I just said, I've got the idea to do some classes and I who do I talk to about my ideas? And he said, oh, me, you talk to me. He said, just send me an email with your proposal and, we'll get it figured out. And I was like, oh, okay, well, sure. I'm not kidding you. After the meetup group that afternoon, I was on the bus on the way home. In the 30 minutes bus ride that it took for me to get from the bookstore to home, Amar had given me the entire class. They had given me a meditation that I'm going to use in the class. They had given me the structure, the content, the name. These classes I'm doing in July in LA at House of Intuition, and I'm doing it in September at East West Bookstore. So I'll post those on my website. But literally, I got the entire first class that I'm going to be doing in half an hour. It was completely written and done and was just given to me on a silver platter. And all I had to do was show up and trust the guidance that I was being given to talk to Steve. One last thing, and then I'll wrap it up. So during this time, I love coffee. During this time, I was also having some issues with my eyes. Like I would go into meditation and my eyes would get super, like I would come out of meditation and my vision would be super blurry. I really was having a hard time kind of focusing after my meditations, and it was really weird. And I used to wear glasses when I did makeup, but the last time I went to the eye doctor, he said, actually, your vision's gotten a lot better, and you can probably be just fine without your glasses. It seems like you've sort of corrected it, which was strange, but it's not unheard of. It happens all the time. And I was pretty farsighted, so it made sense that now that I wasn't doing this close-up work with makeup anymore, that I didn't really need them. So I was having these weird issues with my vision, and I asked my guides one day in meditation, I was like, what's going on with my vision? What's happening? Why are my eyes freaking out? And they said, your intuitive sight is being upgraded. And I was like, okay, well, I believe you. I have no choice but to trust. I've learned at this point that if that's what they tell me, then that's what's going on. And I don't know what that means, but I guess I'll know it when it's time for me to know it. So one day I was walking to the gym, and I became aware, I was looking at the sidewalk, I was listening to my music on my way to the gym, doing my thing, in a great mood, having a great morning, blah, blah, blah. And I noticed that I saw all of these rainbows, like on the sidewalk, like it looked like a prism, when you hang a crystal in the sunlight and it breaks up into all those little rainbows. And I was like, oh, there's rainbows on the sidewalk. And there was a split second before my mind kicked in where my intuitive just knowing was like, oh, I'm seeing rainbows. That's cool. And it wasn't like I was actually physically seeing them like I see my hand. It was almost like this hologram, or like this energy was overlaid over the top of the sidewalk. So I could see the energy. It's the best way I can describe it. So I don't think that they were physically there in terms of everyone could see the rainbows, but I was aware of them and I could see them very clearly in an intuitive sense. And I was like, oh, wow, cool, rainbows. And then my mind caught on and I was like, wait, what? Rainbows? Rainbows. Why the hell am I seeing rainbows? What's that about? And I asked my guides, okay, what is going on? And they said, you're going to start, we told you, they said, we told you we were upgrading your, your intuitive vision, and that you were going to start, having some changes. And they said, you're going to start seeing auras. You're going to start seeing energy in terms of what's going on with people energetically and internally. And I was like, okay, that's cool. I love that. Because I also, sidebar, had always been sort of jealous of people that could see auras. I always thought, oh God, I'd love to be able to do that. But I just didn't think that I could. And so, but they told me you're going to start seeing auras. And I was like, wow, that's awesome. So I walked upstairs to the gym. As I was coming in, I looked over and I saw this dude who is smoking hot. Like, when I tell you that he is totally my type to a T, he is so sexy to me. Like, I would get all verklempt and just really like tweaky and geeky and just sort of, all verklempt and twisted up when I would see him. And he was straight and has a girlfriend, and I know his girlfriend sort of. So I knew, and I just would really admire him from afar. I'd never spoken to him. I'd never, done anything but just stare at him sort of out of the corner of my eye. But when I walked in, I saw him across the gym. He was, talking to someone, and I saw this block in his throat. I saw this, it looked like a block of energy. And I knew that something was blocked in his throat. I thought, well, that was weird. But again, it just sort of kind of came in one ear and out the other. And I went into the locker room, put my stuff in the locker, was walking out, and I saw him again, and they kept telling me, ask him about his throat, ask him about his throat, ask him about his throat. And I was like, what? Ask him about his throat? What are you talking about? And they said, we told you were going to start seeing energies. And I was like, wait, now? You didn't say it was going to be now. It was like 5 minutes ago that you just told me that this is what was happening. And now I have to go talk to someone. Now I have to, and this is the thing. Life is not always easy, and sometimes it makes us uncomfortable. Here I am with this new sort of ability. Now I'm being called to pull a Long Island medium and walk up to someone and say, hey, what's going on with your throat? And he also happens to be someone who is smoking hot that I'm already really intimidated by, just because he's so damn sexy and totally my type. And I just feel like a nervous, sweaty teenager whenever I see him. And now you're telling me I have to go talk to him about his throat? Okay, sure, why not? It was so uncomfortable. And they kept telling me, ask him about his throat. And every time, I swear to you, every time I would, and I was just like, no, I'm not going to. I was in such resistance about it and refusal. And every time I would turn the corner, no matter where I was in the gym, he would be right there. He was always in my, sight line. And this is a big gym. Like, there's a lot of places that you can be and sort of not see it, But of course, that's the way it works, right? And so finally, after like half an hour of them harassing me and me just trying to focus on my workout and tell them to shut up, I said, okay, fine. If you just set it up in the least awkward way possible, just let it happen, and I will fucking ask him about his throat. So I was sitting there, and he came around the corner and walked by, and I said, hey. And I flagged him down, and I said, my name's Andrew. I said, I know this is going to sound really weird. I said, but I'm a psychic. And I keep hearing to ask you about your throat. Is there something going on with your throat? And he just like looked at me, and he was like, well, I just got out of the hospital, and there's something going on with my heart. And it's not life-threatening, but it is a condition that I need to manage. He's like, but I don't think there's anything going on with my throat. And I immediately knew, and I told him, I said, okay, well, I said, I'm not sure how familiar you are with the chakras and with energy systems. And he said he had a basic understanding of it. And I said, okay, your throat chakra is blocked because somewhere in your life, you're not speaking up for yourself. You're not being honest. You're not speaking your truth, and you're not really standing up for yourself in a way that is honest and truthful. And that blockage is causing your heart to freak out. It's going into crisis because there is an imbalance there. So your heart condition, there is a big correlation and a big connection to whatever you're not speaking in your life. And then immediately, as soon as I said that, things just relaxed. The energy subsided, and they, my guides kind of took a back seat, and they were like, fine, thank you, done. And he just said, all right, thank you. I'll keep my eyes open, and I'll keep that in mind. And then that was it. And, I see him every once in a while, and I just wave. My point is that even when we can't see the reason or when we can't see the plan, it's all working in our favor. It's all by design, and by design of our higher self. My guides, I am them, they are me. We are part of the same energy. And I am just a physical embodiment of that, what I am already connected to. So the non-physical part of who I am, my higher self, my team, we're all part of the same crew. And we're working towards the same end. And I just happen to be the one who's in physical form down here doing the physical work and being the vessel and the channel and the radio for these transmissions and broadcasts to come through. But even though I can't always see the plan, and even though I can't always see what is going to be the next step, I can look back now and I can see the progression of events and the progression of situations and how things unfolded for me is all by design. And it is all working for my good, which is in turn working for the good of everyone else. And I am oftentimes asked to step into discomfort and to do something that is way outside of my comfort zone. And I will tell you, I still, every time I'm getting, especially a channeling session, I still get really nervous that I'm not going to be able to perform. And I still get butterflies. And I'm still like, oh my God, is this, am I making this up? Is this all in my head? Am I just a crazy person? But I just show up and I trust that I'll know what to do in the moment. And the connection that I feel when I'm working with people and the information that's coming through for them and the responses that I get from people is evidence that what I'm doing is meaningful and valuable, and that there's just going to be times on this road where I don't always get to see what's next. And I am called to step into a very, very deep level of surrender and faith, to just do what I am guided to do in the moment from a knowing perspective. And had I not been doing my work of creating the void and my spiritual maintenance and, my energetic maintenance and, meditation and clearing and releasing and chakras and balancing and all that, that has allowed me to now understand what is the difference between guidance. What does that feel like versus my ego or my mind trying to, force me to do something or take control. But when I trust and when I know and when I feel, how do you know? You just know. And when you know, you know. And when I know, I just know that that's what I'm supposed to do in the moment. And I've learned how to recognize the clarity that's coming from my guides. And I'm not always going to know, because ultimately it doesn't have anything to do with me. In those moments where I am being a witness for somebody or delivering information, it's not about me. I am the vessel that source is expressing itself through. I am the radio, I am the transmitter, I am the vehicle for this energy to express itself and to come through and to be manifest. And that's what I signed on for. And that's what I agreed to do, especially a couple of years ago when I said, okay, fine, just get me back to Seattle and I'll do this work, whatever this work is. And at the time I had no idea. And that's, I've said this before, sometimes we aren't shown the whole plan because number one, we're creating the path as we walk it, right? A lot of it is that there is no step, and I've talked about this before too. There is no step two. There is only ever the present moment. Time is an illusion, and we only ever have the current moment, and the now is expansive and eternal, and it goes on forever. So now, whatever step is now is the one that I take, and then it brings me to the next step in the next now moment. So it's not linear and sort of A, B, C, 1, 2, 3. Sometimes it will be. Sometimes we'll be given a process, but we're creating the path as we walk it. And so sometimes there isn't a plan, but if we had seen the plan, I've said this before, if 2 years ago when I had my, big shift in my awakening experience, if they had shown me the plan, if they had said, Andrew, we're going to show you this video, and this is a video of what your life is going to look like in the next 2 years, I would have said, no way, no ma'am, no day, no way, no chance, no way, because I didn't believe that I could do it. But now I look back and I see how things were set up for my success, and things were set up for me to honor the commitment that I made, and that it's working for me and not against me. And it is only my insistence to resist what I am guided to do in the moment that creates the struggle. No, it will not always be easy. No, it will not always be comfortable or convenient. Yes, we will be called upon to face some fears and to step into a new level of faith and understanding and surrender and just say, okay, fine. But it doesn't have to be a struggle. The struggle is the choice. The struggle is created by our unwillingness to just trust and do what we know we are being called to do in the moment. And it's not always going to be your guide. It's not always going to be, actual literal guidance. Sometimes it's just a feeling. It's just a gut knowing. And my knowings and my promptings come in all different levels. Sometimes it's actually my guide. Sometimes I just feel like this is what I should do. Sometimes I just kind of know and I just get the instinct to do that. So it's always going to be different. And the action's always going to be different, what it's asking us to do. But our job is just to do it. So show up. And have faith that even though you have no idea what it is that you're supposed to do or why you're supposed to do it, just show up and have faith that if you do it, you'll know what to do in the moment. So that's it. Show up and have faith and just trust that you'll know what to do. I'm going to finish my coffee. Then I'm going to go to the bookstore and do some readings. As always, thank you for watching. Go to my website. You can check me out there. All my Facebook buttons and Instagram and Twitter and all that is on my website, delightedones.com. Check out my services page if you want to know more about what I can do and book a reading or a session with me. I hope that wherever you are, you're happy, that you're healthy, that you're smiling. Have a great week. Thank you again for watching. I'll talk to you soon. Love you. Bye.